Hello, good morning, Onion Lake and Treaty 6 and all surrounding communities. Welcome back to another episode with our seventh generation podcast. I have some ladies in here with me this morning, and we've been planning this episode. Today we're gonna talk about parenting, positive parenting program. So with that, we'll get into it. I don't want to waste too much time here. So we'll have a quick introduction. We'll start to my left over here to Miss Chokin, and then we'll come around and then we'll get into it.
It's Courtney Faithful now.
Oh yeah. Last time
Yeah.
too I kept saying
Yeah.
that. Sorry about that.
Courtney Faithful. I community prevention resource worker is what I am right now, and I work with prevention under the nation.
Thank you.
So I'm Vanessa Rose. I'm a program facilitator with Onion Lake Family Services. And under that umbrella, I do primarily parent education, workshops, and sessions. And I'm a resource person for all things parenting, whether it's toilet training, temper tantrums, discipline things. Yeah, I'm the one you want to call. And I'm pretty sure I have a resource for it. So, yeah.
And my
Thank
name's
you.
Chastity Musipil. I'm a prevention worker with Onion Lake Family Services, and I'm still learning my roles. So I just started in January, and I facilitate programs, and I'm still planning future programming.
Right on. Thank you. With that, we'll get into this. I do have some questions here. But I think before we get into that, I'll open up the floor. Whoever wants to take the first, introduction.
Fingers are pointing this way. So I reached out to Fraser and asked to come on the podcast for a couple of different reasons. So I offer programming pretty much every week, parenting programming. And although I've been getting, some participation, it's not where I would like it to be. And so I guess one of my things, reflecting on is why are people not coming, right? When there's some great information that could actually, help them make their homes a bit more calmer, right? Because in reality, there's not one parent out there that can say that their child is perfect or they are perfect. There's always something going on in the house with your children, right? Whether you can't get them to listen, if they're having temper tantrums, if potty training is a nightmare, like there's always something. And we didn't get that manual when our kids were born, right? So we need help. And if you have more than one child, I'm sure by now you've learned that something you tried with your first child does not work with your second child because they have a totally different personality going on, right? So sometimes when we think we got it down pat, it comes and bites us, right? And we have to find new ways to deal with those situations. So, and then I was thinking a lot of us have trouble asking for help, or we think of it as a sign of weakness. And to be honest, if you know or feel you need help, to reach out and get that help is actually a sign of strength in you because you recognize, right, that there's something going on that you feel like you have no control over. And unless, you move on to that next step of getting help, you're going to stay in that situation. It's not going to get any better, right? So getting parenting help is not a sign of weakness. It does not mean you're a bad parent. It means none of that. Coming to parenting programs means that you want to provide for your child right? The best parenting you can give them. And we can't teach our kids things that we don't know about. So, coming to these programs actually help give you tools and suggestions. Today, we're going to talk about connections with our children and how important that is. And, that's a big part of parenting that people aren't aware of. I wasn't aware of when I first had my children. I mean, I've learned so much over the years, and this knowledge can really help support people right in the community. And I just feel like I really wish people would take advantage of it more often, right? Like I said, it's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength
Yeah.
when you can identify what your needs are and have them addressed.
Yeah.
So,
And it builds your confidence as a parent. It builds your confidence as a parent because when you go to these to the programs, you find other parents that are in the same situation, so you don't feel as alone, and you feel like less crazy because, like you said, it's hard to ask for help, right? And you're going through all this alone. Like it creates a positive parenting support group.
very true.
I have a question. I know, I have my own opinions and observations and stuff. From your guys' perspective, what would be some of the challenges why attendance is not where we want it to be? I know, like when we offer programs through our program, I know transportation is usually a big one, childcare. But yeah, I'll turn it over to you guys.
Well, you just mentioned two of them, but we do offer transportation. You just have to give us enough notice, right? So, like, please don't phone the morning of and say, I need a ride. We may be able to accommodate it, but there's a good chance we don't, right? Because everybody else might be busy. So, yeah, we do transportation. And if we know in advance, we can now try to set up childcare. So yeah, so you just like I said, we just need notice that that's needed so we could work out right how to achieve that. So yeah, so it shouldn't be a barrier. Like I said, yeah, we will try to accommodate as best that we can.
One of the things I think of we have a hard time is marketing, getting the word out there. Whether we put like the posters on Facebook or on the radio or we're hanging up posters, it never a lot of people are saying that they don't hear of the programming until after it's happened. So like trying to find a way to get the word out there long enough for it to be like heard
In
by more
advance of the
people. Yeah.
event. Yeah.
So how could we address that? Just getting the posters out sooner, I think.
Yeah. And encourage people like word of mouth.
And
Tell
pass them
people.
on,
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
not everybody listens to the radio. Not everybody sees all the posters when you hang them up. Like
Mhm.
nobody's like not everyone is on.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Miss? I
Lucifer?
forgot your name, Musa Pale.
Yeah. Just like they said, I think word of mouth and spreading the word about the programming.
What about incentives? Do you guys have like little draws for attending, or like a gift card maybe? Or
I did. So at the end of every month, anytime you participated in a workshop or a parenting event that we had, your name would go into a draw. And at the end of the month, we would do a draw for $100 gift card to Walmart. But that didn't seem to
Yeah.
work.
And we've been trying food hampers because of inflation. So we've been trying a lot of food hampers, meat packs, and stuff like that, just to try to get people out, alleviate some of that stress of putting food on the table. It does help that, like, as long as we tell people well in advance that we're come to this program, we have food hampers up for grabs, and like when we've done that, we've had more participation.
yeah, That's awesome. I know we tried that with our program too, like with the podcast and the live streaming. And we have an ongoing draw once a month for a meat pack with a deep freeze, and we're not asking people to come to a location and participate in anything. All you have to do is just share and comment on our videos, and that gets you into the draw. So something as easy and simple as that. Um, like even with that, our numbers are kind
Slowly
of
going up.
yeah,
Yeah.
but not a whole lot though. Like which
Yeah.
is kind of ironic because you're not asking anyone to do anything, right?
Yeah.
So just I don't know, something for me to think about on my own, like what trying to reason behind
I
all
know.
of that.
And I think
It's-
everybody's sort of struggling with
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
I- yeah, and I think personally, like just having the time availability, like in the evening. A lot of times we have other commitments or other priorities, or multiple kids with
Yeah.
multiple programs. So I think that's another part of the challenge. So yeah, just putting that out there
Mhm.
for like even the viewers to think about,
Mhm.
So with that, just I guess just to add on to that, um, like this triple P program that you guys run, I'm aware of it personally. Like I see it on social media, the programs you guys have coming up, the workshops, and I think you guys are doing a good job in that area. But just thinking out loud, maybe another way to get the information to the people is to live stream and like facilitate the workshop
Yep.
to get the information out. So yeah, again, just putting that out there.
So I did actually, I have Zooms where parents can just log in, but nobody's coming. All they have to do is, email me for the link for the Zoom and they can pop on. But, one time I made a mistake though, and I put the link to the Zoom on the Facebook page. I had like 30 people show up, but they were all in the States and all like it just, yeah, there was nobody from here that actually showed up. They were all like, yeah. So that I can't do that anymore. You have to reach out and I have to send you the link.
Yeah. Yeah, like another thing we do with our program is like we'll go and set up at the round hall, and like for example a singing night, and we'll have that all arranged and set up. We'll have our cameras set up and our microphones, and we'll do whatever we're doing, right? So viewers could tune in and watch and get the information or whatever it is, participate with whatever we're doing. um so like the other day we did a Zoom meeting over there, and we recorded it. But yeah, just I guess just putting that offer on the table for future programming we could set up like that too.
That would be really good. Vanessa is amazing at what she does. Like I've attended a few of her classes. I'm like, Vanessa, my kids won't stop fighting. She's like, you're just in luck. I was like, that's our that's our class for today. I was like, well, I'm sitting in.
Yeah, so I think with that we'll turn the page and we'll talk about connection between our kids and the parents and the family.
Yep.
Well, I could start off this if you want.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so getting into this, understanding connection in parenting. Question number one that I have is, what does connection mean in the context of parenting?
Okay. So connection is all about relationships, right? And what kind of a relationship. So even as adults, we have different relationships with different people. In the context of parenting, I would say if you ask any parent, what they want for their child or what they hope to see, most parents would say that I hope my child would always come to me if there's something wrong and tell me, right? So I can help them. But in reality, if we don't have a good relationship or good connections with our child, they're less likely to actually do that, right? Because in order to have good connections, when your child needs to feel safe and secure, right? Um, your child needs to feel respected, right? That you appreciate their opinions and their thoughts and those type of things. They need to feel they need to have some self-confidence in themselves, right? They need to feel good about themselves. And that's just, a few of the areas. But it's us as parents that have to bring that out in our children. And so the disconnect is like when I was growing up, I can't remember ever being praised. It's just not something that came naturally, right? And it still didn't when I learned about it. So sometimes it feels like all we're saying to our kids is no. Okay, no jumping on the couch. Stop hitting your sister. No, stop this, no that, right? So if all our kids are hearing from us is negative things, they're going to feel like they can't do anything right. Everything they do is wrong. So we need to counter that. And what we need to do is we need to find things that we can praise them for. Now, I don't mean you gush over them like, oh my God, little Judy just did this. Oh my God, she's going to be an artist in Picasso and whatever, right? I don't mean that. I mean little things. So, say if your child's always running around the house and it's driving you crazy, right? But you look one day and they're walking really nicely. So you say, hey, John, that's awesome. I just saw you walking. Thank you very much. That's much safer to do. So if you, instead of just reacting when he's running and tell him to stop, if you catch him when he's walking and you praise him for that, after a few times of doing that, he's going to do that behavior more often because he's getting the attention and it's good attention instead of the bad attention. And that can go into anything, right? It could be you have two kids who are always fighting together and it feels like you're the referee in the house all the time, right? Like stop kicking your sister. Why did you knock over her tower? Blah, 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 right? And so you got to look for moments when they're actually getting along. And believe it or not, it does happen. But our attention always goes to when things are not going right and jumping in there, right? So we need to change that and catch them, like I said, being good. And, so if you catch them playing nicely, and it might only be for 30 seconds, but jump in there and say, guys, I really like how you're playing together. That looks really nice. Or, thanks for sharing that with your brother or whatever the case might be, right? And so it's changing a mindset. And it's not easy. It sounds good. It sounds like a good theory, but how do we break out of that habit is the thing, right? And so I spoke yesterday in a class I did and talked about when I first started doing it, I had to put a note on my fridge, a big note that just said like catch them being good or something like that. And then every time I walked past it and saw it, I'd look to see what my kids were doing and if they were doing something that I can give them praise for, right? And then the evolution of the telephone and reminders, now we could even plug it into our phone every half hour. The bell goes off and we need to do that consistently until it becomes a habit for us, right? Because after, like everything, once you have the repetition and you do it for a while, it'll start to become a habit, and it really does. That's what happened to me. So that's one way we can make better connections with our kids. So any thoughts on that,
Yeah.
Courtney?
Like caught you being good.
Catch them being good.
Caught you being good.
Yeah,
Instead
right?
of catching the negative behavior all the time and putting emphasis on that behavior,
Yeah.
just kind of look for the good stuff that they're doing.
Yeah. And that doesn't
That's
mean
cool.
you
Yeah.
shouldn't discipline them if they're hitting or
Yeah.
whatever the case might be, right? You do have to deal with the negative behaviors too. But if they're getting that praise for the good things they're doing, they're more likely to repeat those good things more often.
And I think getting off the phones, getting off technology, getting away from the screen is another way to create better connection. We lost a lot of connection because of that. As like one thing that my husband is starting is he'll shut off the Wi-Fi. He shuts off the Wi-Fi and the kids will say they're bored. And he was like, that's great. Now let's use your imagination. And he'll like pull out some toys or he'll pull out some pen and paper and he'll get them doing stuff together or they're just playing together. And he'll do that like 1 or 2 hours a day. And it's been
That-
making a good difference with them. Their connection to each other is not as problematic as it was before.
That is an awesome idea.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I have a question. Just on the everything you guys touched on so far. Just from my own kind of visual, what I'm visualizing. But I'll turn it into a question. What age group are we kind of referring to right now? Like to me, it's like 5 and under. We're kind of in that reinforcement.
No, you can do that with any age. Well, the positive reinforcement, you can do that with your husband. Like that's
Right.
but
I'm gonna take notes.
right. But like when you think about it, if us as adults, if we came into work every day or we came home every day and all we heard was like, Vanessa, don't sit that way. Vanessa, did you do this? Vanessa, stop doing that. Vanessa. Like seriously, we would lose our marbles. But you know what? For whatever reason, that's what our kids hear a lot, right? So so any age you would do this on, yes, from the time that they can understand, you can do it. But even when they're teenagers, you can recognize maybe they got a good a better mark on something. You could say, what, really proud of you for that, or you should be proud of yourself for getting that mark, or it could anything really that you can point out to them, because I know with teenagers too, there's so much going on, right? With hormones and with friend groups and, social media. So you really do have to pick out your child's strengths sometimes, right? And encourage that and provide that positive feedback to them. So,
Okay, right on. Thank you. So I'm gonna turn this same question over to what's your first name?
Chastity.
Chastity
Yeah.
Musapeo, to Miss Musapeo. Okay, it'll be a 2-part, but it's the same question. What does connection mean in the context of parenting? And then the other one is, why is building a strong connection with our children so important?
So sorry, can you repeat the first part?
What does connection mean in the context of parenting, and why is building a strong connection important?
I think just having a good relationship with your children. Like I have my own child. I have a 7-year-old, and he loves having the attention from his mom and dad. So it's like a big thing for me to always make time for him, spend time with him, and just know that like we're there and we're there for him. And I have 2 teenagers actually that live with me, so that's something I'm trying to learn, how to parent teenagers. So just listening to Vanessa and what she's saying, it's taking up those points.
Awesome. So another question, the next question for all of us here. What are some common challenges that parents face when trying to connect with their children?
I think it's like internet too. Like when they're always on their iPads or playing the game, it's kind of hard to make that connection with them.
Or trying to I find a lot of our parents are struggling parenting while dealing with their own traumas. You see it a lot, like it's hard for people to show that affection when you haven't been given it, right? And it's just trying to move past that and just showing yourself how to connect with your child, trying different things and just putting yourself out there to be there for your children in a way that you weren't supported as a kid, right? And I was like breaking through those barriers, because I, for one, have went through that. I was like, there was a certain age my daughter turned and it was super triggering, and I had to really fight myself to love her properly. And it was because of like things that happened in my past that really prevented me from being the best that I could be. So I really had to challenge myself myself to try do better in that sense.
That's a big point too, because if we as parents are, suffering like depression and anxiety, or have gone through a trauma and we haven't dealt with it or got support for it, it's really hard to be a good parent,
Mhm.
right? If you in your own head are really struggling with your own self-identity, and things like that, it's hard to pass positivity onto your children. So taking care of yourself as a parent is like really, really important. And like I talked about earlier, getting help is not a sign of weakness, right? It's a sign of strength. So if you recognize that in yourself, that, these feelings are constant, we all have bad days, but if these feelings are constant and ongoing, then that's the time you really need to reach out, right? So whether that be talk to a friend, try get out for walks, take some time to yourself, go see a counselor or a therapist, whatever you need to do to feel quote unquote normal again, right? Whatever your normal would be. But that's a very important part of making connections with your children, because if you're not in the right headspace for that, how can you pass that along? So
Awesome, thanks. Okay, if you don't mind, we'll move on to the next question.
Yep.
How does a parent-child connection impact a child's emotional and mental well-being?
So parents are their child's first teacher, right? They're the first people that guide the children. They're the first people that the children learn from through observation, through listening, all those ways, right? So, oh my gosh, the question just left me.
How does a strong parent-child connection impact a child's emotional and mental well-being?
Okay. So children need, as I mentioned earlier, to feel loved, to feel secure, to what's the word? Feel safe.
Or a sense of belonging.
A sense of belonging, definitely. Yeah. And so as parents, we're in the prime position to offer all those things to our children, right? So I mean, the importance of that is huge. We talked about earlier how all parents want their children to come to them if they're in trouble, right? And how if we don't have that connection or relationship with our child, then that's less likely to happen realistically. So I don't know why I'm bringing it out here. Fill in for me, Courtney, because I'm just.
I think the connection between parent and child is very important. You see it a lot in a lot of our communities now. The people that are in gangs, that are drug users and stuff like that, they didn't get a whole lot of parental family support. They don't have a sense of belonging and they don't feel loved. That's what happens when we don't have a connection.
And they feel they don't have even a sense of like self-confidence or self-worth,
or
right?
a belief in their abilities.
Exactly.
Because they're all smart. Like, look at, they're surviving. Like, they're not thriving, they're surviving.
Right.
But with
Yeah.
a little bit of love and support, like imagine what they can do. They're fighters. Like
Mhm.
it's crazy. So
And it
like,
all begins with
yeah,
parenthood, and not even parent, even caregivers,
Yeah.
who have maybe other people's children in their care. They can provide that same role.
Yeah.
They really can. And every child needs one person who loves them unconditionally,
Mhm.
right? And can show that. So yeah, it's huge. Another thing that we don't do with our kids enough is have conversations. And when I say that, meaningful conversations, and that we ask our kids lots of questions. Now, I don't mean like the firing squad, and but I would say almost every parent out there, when their child comes home from school and they say, "How was school today?" the child say, "Okay," and that's all you get,
Mhm.
right? So we have to, as parents, we need to be curious. So instead of saying, "How was your day today?" say, "Hey, what was the best part of your day today? What did you like most about today?" Right?
Mhm.
So it's not a yes or no question. They have to give you an answer, right?
Yeah.
Or it could be they come home and they're really upset because Sally wouldn't share her toy or whatever, right? So ask them a question and say, "Oh, I wonder why she didn't want to share the toy with you. How did that make you feel?" Right? So you can help them, think and problem solve on their own. And by doing that, not only are you helping your child to think about things, right, and problem solve, but you're listening to your child. You're not like we're not jumping in and trying to fix the problem all the time.
Yeah.
We're encouraging them. So you can just start that at like preschool age, like 4 years of old. 4 years of old. 4 years old. I mean, sometimes we might need to prompt them a little bit, but as they get older, asking those questions.
Mhm.
And when we think about like our kids' friends, sometimes it's really good, especially as they get older, to ask them questions. Well, if you had a friend, what would you like them to be like? What characteristics would you like in a friend?
Mhm.
So they're actually thinking about it themselves, right? Because they'll probably come up with, well, I want someone who's nice and kind and funny, right? And that's awesome. So you tell them that's really good things to have in a friend, right? So if they come back sometime and they're always fighting with this one friend, right? Say, remember we talked about what qualities you want in a friend? Do you think this person has those qualities?
Mhm.
Because maybe it's time for you to move away, right? If that's the thing. So, you have all those little conversations with them, and even having 5 or 10 minutes every day to have a conversation, to ask them questions, shows that you're interested in their life and what they're doing and things like that. And so that's how you build that connection, right? You keep doing those things and you add in that positive reinforcement with it, right? So yeah, so it's pretty
Yeah. Um, yeah. So for me, from my perspective or my own life, my daughter and stuff, I think in terms of connection, just for the viewers out there, right? To be able to pick and choose whatever information they want to adopt in their own lives.
Mhm.
I think another form of connection or trying to establish that connection is like trying different things or getting your kid to try different things, different programs, different sports, different activities, whatever it is. And helping them discover their passion maybe or
Yeah.
their areas of interest, and then buying toys or whatever games that are in that area that help them develop those skills that they're interested in naturally, but also participating in those activities. So for example, myself and my daughter, like hockey, I bought her skates and a stick and a helmet for Christmas. This was last year, she was 2 years old. And like I play hockey, so she's able to come and watch once in a while. But I could see that I think she kind of loves the game.
Mm.
Just from my own observation, she kind of gets it. She's into it. She's cheering and stuff, and she's so young, right? But even just something as simple as shooting a ball around with her, like stick to stick, and she's getting all this energy and excitement and
And kids remember that. Like they
yeah.
will. If that becomes, your thing, right? That, every time, I say, Dad, we're gonna hit the ball together, right? And they remember that
Yeah.
that connection. So that's cool.
Yeah, like even with my dad, like my own memory with my dad when I was a teenager. One thing we like to do, or he kind of liked to do with me, was like playing catch with a ball and glove, or else a frisbee, and we'll just go back and forth, right? But it allows us to kind of get on the same level. And it allows me to ask questions about becoming a man, or
Yeah.
the next phases in life and stuff like that. So it's something I always look forward to after school or whatever, just to spend 20 minutes with him and to be able to talk with him and just tell him whatever's bothering me, or just whatever, right? Just
Yeah.
brainstorm ideas. So yeah, that allowed the connection to be formed and opened up doorways to communicate. And yeah, so
That's a really good point, because those are awesome teaching moments, right? Because it's not like you're sat down, like this and say, okay, I'm going to tell you about this tradition, but you're doing it in a relaxed atmosphere. They're more likely to listen. It could be you're driving in the car is a great time to
Yeah.
have conversations with your kids on stuff, right? And that, so it's sort of incorporated into things that you're doing is a really good time to make connections.
I think another point to emphasize too is like when it comes to building those connections with your kids, it doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg.
No, it
Not
doesn't.
at all.
And it can be like there could be no cost. And an example for me, like with my daughter, is she's 3 years old now, and she has a lot of energy, and she loves to dance and sing. So and she'll make me dance with her or whatever, so we'll hang out and chill out. And but I could see that she really enjoys that. And it allows us to talk about other things, or
Yeah.
dancing, or whatever. It just allows me to be in her world and
Yeah.
just be a resource for her.
Yeah.
And it's nice to develop your own traditions and things, right? So maybe like going to a powwow together is your, a big thing that you do, or things like that. And to everybody out there, please get yourself connected to like the wellness page and the rec page and, family services pages, because there's lots of activities, family activities happening too, right? That you and your kids can get involved in, right? And so yeah, keep your eye out for those and try to attend them when you can, right? Because it gives more memories and things, right? When your kids are involved in fun things with mom and dad, or
Yeah.
right. So
I think too, like especially in a group setting with other families and other kids, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. That
and outside the screen time, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, Miss
think-
Musapeo?
I had a ribbon skirt making class. Well, it's still
that was
ongoing. Right?
you.
Yeah, that was me.
Nice.
So it was mother and daughter, and we had our first class on Monday. So it was really nice because I actually got to see like the mom and the daughters bonding and sewing together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's cool.
So that's full though, right?
Yeah, it's full right now. But I'm planning on making future ones.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, just FYI, my program could help there too if you
Okay.
want to team up.
Yeah. It would be nice to have more help, like more
Yeah,
facilitators with me.
I could help
yeah.
in that area.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll sit down
Mhm.
soon. Anything else?
About connection?
No, yeah, anything.
I don't know.
General.
Affection.
Oh,
Hugging your
yes.
children.
Oh.
Hugging your children. Hug them. Have a cuddle time. That's one of my children's favorite things to do. If they're having a rough day, they'll just say, "Mom, I want to cuddle." And I'm like, "Okay." And I'm like, I'll sit down and they'll like I'll carry them until they feel better. And I'm like, "Are you okay?" And they're like, "Yep." And then they're off and they're playing. They just need some affection, they need some to feel safe and secure, and just whatever they're feeling, it just goes away when you hug them.
Thank you, Courtney, because that is huge. All
Mhm.
kids need positive touch, right? So whether it's a hug, a pat on the head, just, holding their hand, going for a walk,
Mhm.
anything like that is good. And, I know as they get older, some kids, don't want to do the hug thing. Try to keep doing it anyway. Don't let it stop you. But you can also give high fives and things
Yeah.
like that, right? So it's a very good point.
Yeah. Moving on. I'll ask another question here. Let's see. How can parents reconnect with their children after experiencing conflict or discipline moments?
Interesting. Okay, so and it's hard. It's not hard actually to do this, but what is hard is if we're really upset with our children, sort of like Courtney said before, like she was dealing with her own trauma and she had to recognize that, right? And be able to sort of step outside it so she can parent more. So even though we might be mad with our child, sometimes we have to let that go and think about what is the learning opportunity here, right? So how can we bring this back so that we can make it better in the future? Because it's never too late to bring back a connection. With younger children, I mean, it's probably easier. You can bring back the connection by, giving them hugs, spending that little bit of time actually playing with them. As kids get older, it's harder. But one thing we as parents forget is that we're not perfect. And it is okay to apologize to our children. So, how sometimes we might overreact, and after it's like, oh God, I probably shouldn't have said that. Or, maybe that was too harsh of a punishment or something like that. Right. But you're after saying it now, blah, blah, blah. You know what? It's okay to go back to your kid, and say, you know what? I thought about it. Yeah, that wasn't right of me. I think I overreacted. I should have talked to you more about that,
Yeah.
or I should have found out more information, or those type of things. So it's okay to actually apologize
Yeah.
to our kids, right? Because that will teach them that if they do something wrong, right, to teach them how to apologize and make amends for what they did, right? So does that sort of answer
Yeah.
the question?
Yeah.
All right.
Any thoughts?
I just think when you say I'm sorry, don't say I'm sorry, but
No,
I'm so-
no buts.
I'm sorry, but like
You made me do it.
you were doing this and stuff like that. Just say, you know what, I overreacted, I lost control, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Don't say like I'm sorry, but all this thing. It takes away from
your
the
apology.
Yeah.
I have a question. Just on the same topic, how important is it to like for the whole discipline thing for kids who are 10 and under versus 10 and older?
Okay. So actually, discipline is another form of connection, believe it or not. Discipline and routines, but they have to be consistent. So, if one day, and I gave poor Chastity's probably sick listening to me now because we had this conversation yesterday. But if your kids are jumping on the bed and one day you tell them to stop and you make them get down, or you put a consequence in because they're not listening, still jumping on the bed. And then the next day they're jumping on the bed and you're like, oh, I don't have the energy to deal with that now. And so you let them do it. Right. So then the kids don't know, okay, where's the boundaries here? Like, because I'm going to test them.
Yeah.
right? Unless you set those boundaries clear and you deal with the situation every time it happens, they're going to test it all over the place. And so, you know, you need to be consistent with the discipline. So we have lots of classes for that. We have one called Dealing with Disobedience. So what do you do when your kids aren't listening to you? Because sometimes we really don't know. We're like, what do I do about that? You know, so that would be a really good class for people to come to. The other thing, kids need routines. So they need like a morning routine, right? They need a bedtime routine. It tells them, they know them what to expect
Yeah.
and what's expected of them, right? But if it's changed, you know, 3 and 4 times a week, it's, you know, always different. They go to bed at different times and that kind of thing, right? That causes, believe it or not, insecurities, even though the kids are probably fighting us not to go to bed,
Yeah.
right? But, you know, so that's, and sometimes as parents, we forget we're the parents. Like, honestly, we forget and that we're the ones in charge. So, you know, we say, you know, why is Johnny going to bed at 10 o'clock? You should probably be in bed by 7. Well, I can't get him to go to bed.
Well,
It's like,
make 'em
what do
go
you
to bed.
mean? You're the parent. Like,
Yeah.
and I know that's frustrating because it's like, how do I do it if he's yelling and screaming and running out?
Yeah.
What do I do? You call me or come to a class.
Yeah.
And I can teach you how to do that. But it's really important. As kids get older, they should be you should make them sometimes part of the solution. So having like having little family meetings where you sit down and say, what could be a problem? I noticed, so you have a kid, maybe 2 kids, one's 10 and one's 12, and they're always arguing and fighting with each other, fighting over toys, you know, and those kind of things. Sit them down and say, okay, guys, this is happening a lot. I've noticed you guys are always arguing, always fighting, you know, and that's not okay. You know, you're brothers, you love each other, you need to treat each other with respect. So what can we do about it? And see what they come up with, right? Now, obviously, you might have to prompt them a little bit and say, okay, so if I did this to you, how would you feel about it? Right? So it's the same thing. Just, you know, because you're brothers and close to the same age, you need to show each other respect. If you're having a problem with your brother, use your words. Don't grab things, you know. So, but ask them the questions, see if you can get them to come up with the solutions, and then it's easier to implement them because that's what you guys came up with that you want to do, right? So
Yeah.
as they get older, and then feel like they have some control instead of us just telling them, right? They become part of the solution, so they're more likely to listen to it.
Sounds good. Yeah, just listening to you talk, I was kind of getting some memories or reminders. And I know like it with traditional parenting, there's teachings with a moss bag.
Mhm.
And that's like 5 and under or 3 and under or 2 and under or whatever it is. And part of the teachings around that is to teach them to like sit still and to utilize their other senses, not just touch and feel and cruising around and being crazy, right? But learn to observe and listen and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, just listening to you talk
And that
reminded me of that.
So traditional things is a huge connection point you can use with your children, right? Take them to ceremonies, do, you know, the traditions that have been done, right? Teaching your daughters how to cook, you know, and things like that. So, you know, there's so much tradition and culture and ceremonies here. You really should be taking advantage of that and incorporating all that, you know, within your family, right? And you know what? If you're not sure about things, like check with wellness or, you know, call us. We have an elder who can talk to you if you want to talk to somebody about those traditions, about how to incorporate them with your children and your families. Maybe you're going to be a new mom and you want to learn about, you know, like the placenta and burial and those kind of things, reach out, right? Like I said, we have an elder on staff and she would gladly sit down with you,
Yeah.
and teach you, right? And that's what it's all about, is passing on those traditions, right? So yes, be a big part of that. That is a huge connection piece for all families here, right? For men, women. And when I talk about parenting, I'm just not talking about women, I'm talking about dads too, right? And making those connections. Take your sons out, right, to a sweat, or, pipe
Yeah.
ceremony, and all those things, right? So, and there's so much of it available here. And if you don't know where it's happening or what, call, like I said, call wellness, call us, and we can make that connection for you. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad you mentioned that. Like, I'm really, yeah, like I think a lot of us think that way and feel that way with what you just said, like the richness of the culture and the ceremonies in our community here. I think a lot of times us that are from here, lived here our whole lives, don't really realize the abundance we have and like the accessibility. For myself, I didn't really realize that till I moved away for school. I moved to Regina, and I visited a lot of those reserves over there. And in Alberta too. But I noticed just in the environment where I was, like the post-sec, the university over there, it seems like the knowledge and ceremonies and the language and all that is not as abundant as it is up here. So I'm really glad you touched on that, like encouraging especially new parents and young parents to take advantage of getting involved
Right from
in
the
those.
beginning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know as a new parent, because I just had my first baby too, and it is overwhelming, and there's no manual, there's no handbook. You kind of don't know what you're supposed to do or what's supposed to happen or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think by default the safe step to take would be
Go back to your culture.
be
Mhm.
involved in the ceremonies, because you have the Googums there, the elders,
Yeah.
the knowledge keepers, and the pipe, and the like the feast, the food, and all that, right? Like it's such a healthy
Environment.
environment and comforting and soothing,
Yeah.
especially for a baby being around the drums, right?
Right.
So yeah, so I'm like really glad that you mentioned that. Any other thoughts?
No, I'm just going to plug some upcoming parenting stuff. So, if you're not already, look for Onion Lake Family Services Prevention Team on Facebook and join that group. And so when you join that group, you'll find all the information of any programs that are coming up, not just the parenting ones, like classes and stuff, but also, like Chastity has said, she's doing the ribbon skirt, mom and daughter, and those type of activities, and we'll have some men's activities, and so there's going to be a broad range of stuff. So we just hired some new staff, so by March, April, we should be up and getting more things happening. The other thing I was going to mention is I also have started doing classes for parents who have teenagers. And so the first one I'm doing is actually next Tuesday, the 11th at 1:00, and it's called Raising Responsible Teenagers. So if anyone is interested in that, you can call me, and my number is very easy, 306 344 3448. Or if you can't remember that, because I have a good memory, but it's short, just phone the main family services number, and they'll find me for sure. And what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, and I also have a Zoom class which is happening tomorrow. I think, is that tomorrow? No, yes, no. What do I have on tomorrow? I can't keep track of all my classes.
Tomorrow.
Oh no, the next one's next Wednesday, February 12th. at 1 o'clock, and you can just call me, give me your email. I'll send you the link so you can watch at home on your phone or iPad or whatever you have. And the topic is going to be developing good bedtime routines. But I guess the biggest point I want to make is please reach out if you need help. We are here for the whole community. It's not a child protection issue or anything like that. We are here to support all parents in the community so they feel supported, right? And they feel there's somewhere to go when they need help and they're not going to be judged,
Mhm.
right? So I guess that's the biggest thing. And take part in all the programs. Get yourself connected to those Facebook groups or make phone calls or
Yeah.
ask people, right?
Build on your skills.
Yeah, reach out and
Yeah.
participate. So, yeah, I guess that's my biggest takeaway today. And thank you so much for having us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Is it okay if I post these on our page as
You
well?
sure can.
Okay. Yeah, I'll post these so people get the information, the dates and times and locations and all of that.
Mhm.
We do have a couple of questions here. One of them or a comment, I'll read them. Miss Mandy, she says, I love this. It's great information. I always love to learn more about parenting.
Awesome.
And then she asks, she's interested in the ribbon skirt program. Is there a contact number for the next program?
Yeah, so I would say probably reach out to
Yeah.
Chastity, and she's probably going to start a list,
Yeah.
right? If people
I have a
phone her,
list
you have a
already,
list started. So you want to tell?
I don't remember my phone number.
Your office is at
It's at Family Services.
okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think it's 3446.
It's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So for Mandy,
well, for now you can call me 306 344 3448, and I'll pass it on to Chastity.
or else they could Google it.
Yeah.
So for Mandy, your contact is Chastity
Yeah.
Musapeu.
Yeah.
At the Family Services office, you could Google the number. For more information, they do have a waiting list, but I think we're gonna try help to accommodate more of that waiting list by bringing on more facilitators and teachers. So keep an eye out for that, Mandy. I think that'll end up happening. Leah Sage, love this program so much. I did it twice. It really works.
Awesome.
And Mandy says, thanks for the info. Okay. I do have a couple more questions here, but I think we'll shut it down.
We can come back. And
Yeah. Yeah,
for
we'll
sure.
do this more often for sure.
Okay.
Like twice a week.
Yeah.
or
So
whatever.
I don't know if there's many listening right now or those who may catch this podcast later. If there are topics that you're interested in or want more information on regarding parenting and that, I guess they can like comment in here or how best.
Yeah, or just reach out to you.
Or you can reach out to me and
Or
tell
even
me.
me.
Or Fraser. And then we can plan our next podcast around people's
Mhm.
interests and things
Yeah,
like
that'd
that.
be good.
So
Yeah, there's actually one on here that I would like to do with us again at some point. You have a questionnaire here at the last page, and it says ages and stages questionnaire for children age 1 month to 6 years. Have you ever wondered if your child is developing on schedule? Have you questioned if your 3-year-old's speech is where it should be, or if your 9-month-old should be rolling over by now? Does your child get upset very easy? Is that normal for her age? But yeah, the thing that sticks out for me here is like, if your child is developing on schedule, it'd be nice, I think, if
Mhm.
we could talk about
To-
that. What are we expecting
Reaching
for
their
1-year-old?
milestones, yeah.
Yeah, the milestone. What are they?
Yeah.
As a single dad, I don't know. I guess I could Google it and research it, but I'd rather have a conversation with people and talk about it.
This is an awesome thing. I've done this on my kids, and you learn so much because you're not just looking to see what maybe they can't do. It also tells you what your child's strengths are,
Yeah.
what they're
And
what
as
they're
a
good
parent,
at.
what you need to work on.
Right. And then if something is lagging a little bit, it's not a diagnosis. It might just mean they need to practice more, like more opportunities. So like one of the questionnaires has something about, can your child cut a piece of paper in a straight line with scissors?
Yeah. She can't cut paper, but she can cut her hair.
Right. But yeah. Well, and so a lot of times I used to see no for those kind of things, but it's not that the child couldn't do it. The child never had the opportunity. They weren't given the option to use scissors.
Yeah.
Right. So, things like that. So it's very non-invasive, but very informative. So yeah, it's an awesome. Only takes 5 to 10 minutes or so
Yeah.
to and that's happening tomorrow actually. It's a walk-in at Family Services from 1 to 3. If you're interested, or just give me a call. And yeah.
Before we go, there's another one here that I like here. Playgroup, Wednesday, February 20th, 1:30 to 3:30 at Family Services main building family room, for parents, caregivers with children from birth to age 5. Join us for some play stories and snacks.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Lots happening.
Yeah.
We need people to come.
Yeah. There's a lot of good things going on in Onion Lake, which is kind of part of the reason why we created this podcast, to be able to kind of go into more detail with the
Get the word out
programs
there.
and help promote and
Yeah.
hopefully get people attracted and involved. Okay, so I think with that we'll shut it down. If you guys don't mind, we'll just have a little quick roundtable with closing comments, thoughts, or just anything in general. We'll start with on the left over with Miss Faithful.
Oh, I just about didn't listen. Just kidding. Closing thoughts. Just as a parent, like what Vanessa's been stressing throughout the podcast, is reach out for help. You're not alone. All of us struggle with parenting. We're in a new age. We're in like social media, so we all need some help in that aspect. And we're all like, one thing I'm always talking about, I was like, the residential schools. We're given what we're given, but we're at a stage now like where we're breaking those cycles and we're learning to parent in a healthier way. So
And
just
bring
reach
back
out.
the things that you used to have.
Yeah,
Right.
unconditional love.
Yeah, and like I said, all the traditional pieces, right? So, we're regrouping now,
Yeah.
right? So no, that's awesome.
Yeah, and we're I'll have a program. I work with prevention under the nation. So on February 11th, 25th, March, what is it, 13th and 27th, or no, we're in May, March 11th and 25th, we'll be having a Stitch It course, and it's in partnership with Prenatal Postnatal. So the first Tuesday of the month will be either with Alicia or Ashley. They're the dietitians, or Jolene. She works with she's a prenatal nurse. And then the second Tuesdays we'll just be learning to use the sewing machine, or just leave the sewing machines out if nobody has them. We'll have one of the Googums coming in, and they'll be helping people repair zippers and like put on buttons, fix coats and stuff like that, because a lot of us don't have the means to keep buying things. So learning how to fix what we have, take care of it, is a skill I think we should have. So you can reach out.
So March 11th and March 25th.
February 11th and 25th.
Okay, February 11th and 25th. Before we go, you mentioned Pink Shirt Day, I think.
Yes. Pink Shirt Day, where we'll be having a couple presenters come out. We'll be on the podcast with Fraser here again. Her name is Michelle. I'm not going to try to pronounce her last name. I will butcher it. But she is Isquel Health on Facebook. She does a lot of healthy boundaries, meditation. She's really positive. Like, it's crazy. Her energy is so contagious. Like, you just feel like, I'm just like, woo, like after I'm like with her, like I feel so good. Like, I think she'll be a good resource to have. and to learn from. She talks about lateral kindness. And I think that's something that we need across the board. So I'm excited for that. I think we're also going to be working with Carlin Nordstrom. He might be coming to do. And I can't remember. There's a few more presenters that are coming up, but I can't remember their names off the top of my head.
They'll
I'm
be
sorry.
going to the schools.
Yes, they will.
Community hall, no.
I think we're coming to the podcast.
Okay.
That's how we'll reach the community that day.
Awesome.
Question before we go. What is Pink Shirt Day?
Pink Shirt Day was started a few years ago. It was actually a young man that transferred schools, I believe. And on his first day of school, I don't know if it was his first day of school, but he wore a pink shirt and he got bullied for it. And there was a couple students who did not like the way he was treated, and they wanted to do something to stand up for him. So they got a bunch of people to wear pink shirts, and that's how it began. And so it's kind of like an anti-bullying thing or showing lateral kindness, like how to be nice to each other, accept people.
Accept and respect.
Yeah, like everyone's different. Can you imagine how boring it would be if we were the same? Like we would be Stepford wives. And I was like, it's awesome. Like I always tell people, like I learned to embrace my crazy. Like I dance, I sing, I yell, like I play with my kids, like, and I used to try and like dull it down because it made other people feel uncomfortable, but my insecurities aren't your insecurities. So I just jam now.
Yeah.
I googled it real quick. Just what Courtney said. It's an annual day of awareness and action against bullying. Participants wear pink shirts to show support. And again, that's on February 26th, Pink Shirt Day.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you don't have to be only kind on February 26th.
That's
you can
right.
be kind every day of the year.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go to Vanessa.
Final thoughts. Wow. You know what? I want parents to don't underestimate themselves. All parents out there already have a wealth of knowledge that they can share with their children, right? So use that to make those connections. So, sometimes we become really insecure. And, but like I said, don't underestimate yourself. You use your intuition. Sometimes, you feel something's not right. You shouldn't do something. Well, listen to that, right? And then listen to the side of your head that says, I should be doing this. Then you know what? Do that. And in between that, if you need help, reach out. So there's so much support. I just want people to reach out for help when they need it, because we all need help, right? So
right on. I just want to echo something there really quick. Yeah, just what Vanessa and kind of what the ladies have been saying all morning. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. Yeah, so don't feel pressured, like even for myself, advice to myself. You think you're misstepping or you're not knowing what to do. But yeah,
we're all going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
It's human nature. And that's part of the being able to apologize too, right? So, yeah.
And being able to reach out. Okay, so we'll go to Miss Chastity Musapeo.
Yeah.
Closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. Yeah, just what they're saying. Don't be afraid to reach out for help. Like we're at Family Services Prevention. I know there's like a stigmatism with. No, I don't know if I said that right. But
well,
family
no,
services,
yeah.
like they think Family Services is there to take their kids away, but we're there to like support families and offer help. And the prevention is a really good program that we have in Onion Lake. Yeah, that's my closing thoughts.
And that's true. There is some stigmatism
Yeah.
around the name family services,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So, and we're trying to eliminate that. There's no doubt that part of family services is about investigating
Mhm.
chance, or, child abuse or neglect, and that needs to happen because we need
Yeah.
to make sure our children are taken care of properly. But that's only one part.
Yeah.
But that's the only part sometimes people
Yeah, that's what they
relate
think
to,
of.
right? So this prevention side is overtaking that now, right? And so that's why we're having all these programs, and that's why we're on this podcast. And like I said, we are another resource for the community. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to add to that too. One thing I'm noticing, especially nowadays, I think a lot of the staff in this field of social work, prevention and all of that, compared to like 10 years ago, 20, 30 years ago, nowadays what I'm noticing and seeing is a lot of the staff are people who look like us, who are
Mhm.
brown and native and are young and can relate to
Mhm.
what you're dealing with at home. So I think that whole stigma comes from like
Older.
long time ago, like the 80s and 90s and stuff. But I think the way its evolution to now is more of a like you guys have been saying all morning, is trying to work together.
Mhm.
So just for the viewers out there to keep that in mind, you'll have people like Chastity and Courtney and all the other ladies, even Vanessa's awesome. That'll help, that will do what we can to help even me with this program here, like for all the other parents, especially the men. Yeah, feel free to reach out if there's anything I could do to help or we could do to help.
Yeah.
Yeah, just reach out and we'll do what we can
Yeah.
to work together.
And dads are just as important as moms.
definitely.
They're like kids are more likely to follow their dad's footsteps. Research shows that. So if your dad is doing healthy, they're working out, they're working, their child's more likely to follow suit.
I noticed that. That's cool. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Children are like sponges. They repeat things they see, right? Things they hear. So think about that,
Yeah.
right? If you're cursing and swearing all the
Yeah.
time, your child's going to pick that up and start doing it. And how can you get mad at your child for saying those words if you're doing it in front
Yeah.
of them all the
Yeah.
time,
We
right?
just had to have a conversation within like my husband and I, because we noticed how our kids are reacting to each other really swift and really loud. And I was like, okay, I was like, it's not them. I was like, we have to understand what we're doing. I was like, and we can't react so loudly like that. I was like, but that's another behavior you have to
Right?
stop, like something that was
Yeah.
taught to you, right? I was
Yeah.
like, so yeah.
And if we adults, like you said, if we yell when we're angry or we throw things or, have
Yeah.
an adult temper tantrum,
Yeah.
when our kids get mad, that's what they're going to do because they don't know any other way.
Yeah.
That's all they know is what they
So
see and hear.
they're going to do what you do and not what you say.
Oh, exactly. Exactly.
That's awesome. We'll end it off there. I like
Okay.
that quote. They'll do what you do and not what you say.
Mhm.
So act right.
Awesome. That's a good one. Yeah.
All right, guys, we're gonna sign off and we wish you all a good day. We're gonna do a draw on this one, okay? For the viewers, I know there's not much right now, but I'll do a draw first thing tomorrow morning. I do have a set of eyelashes here from Roberta's Eyelashes. She donated 2 sets. We gave away one. I have another one here to give away. So share this episode and comment. The deadline will be at 8 in the morning tomorrow. So with this episode, eyelashes. All right. Other than that, I think we'll shut it down. If there's anything else or nothing else, we're
Good.
good to go. Okay, right on. Have a good day, guys, and catch
Hi,
up
hi.
again soon.